Hello. Today I would like to get into the topic of transhumanism. And this is going to be very much an overview. We can get into more specific aspects or get into more in depth realms of this topic in another day, in another vlog, if that is called for. So, what is transhumanism? Well, from my aspect, it is what I observe to be a cultural and a intellectual movement with the goal to transform the human condition using technology. Now, one part of that technology, and a huge part of that technology, is what a lot of us would know now as artificial intelligence. So there's going to be some aspects within this vlog that I touch on that and just sort of start referring to technology as AI. I'm not saying that AI is the only technology that is used to help push this forward into our society, in certain parts of our society, but it is predominantly the main technology from what I can observe in this moment here today. So the reason that some people really believe in this transhumanism philosophy is because some see a compatibility between the human mind and computer hardware. However, there is some caution that may need to be addressed and also held on to in a certain aspect, because the science of the soul is often forgotten when you're speaking and you're discussing and you're reading or you're watching information. You're engaging with the people that are really for this transhumanism movement. They tend to forget about the science of the soul, and of course that is something that we are having to come back round and rediscover. I'm not saying that the science of the soul has not ever been ventured into. I'm just saying that in this moment, in where our culture is and the timeline that we're on right now, it's not very present within science, and it's sort of seen as something else. It's sort of decompartmentalized. It's not as integrated as potentially what other cultures and other genealogies and other ancestries may have done and may have worked with in the past. So when you're forgetting about these other aspects of the human, beyond just how compatible the mind is with a computer hardware, it can lead into some potential extremely destructive consequences to the human consciousness and DNA. And this is why I personally am cautious with these kind of use of technology, use of AI myself. There's a whole lot more I could get into. I'm going to touch onto it a little bit more now. So most AI that I can observe in this moment, in this time, that is presented to us for the public to use, and that is yet, just about to be released. I'm not talking about the AI that's going to be released within sort of 10, 20 years. I'm thinking about sort of just here and now in the next maybe couple of years. It doesn't necessarily have the best interests of human at the heart, at its heart, if it even has a heart in regards to the people that are pushing and really wanting this to come through. It tends to hijack the human consciousness, and it can literally take over and possess the human mind and or body. And that could sound pretty extreme, like, oh my god, we are at a point where technology now can literally, almost turn a human into some other sort of robotic being or zombie-like thing. And you can find footage of this online, but also it can work in much more subtle ways. You can observe it occurring just very slowly and very subtly within humans, and it just depends on maybe which parts of society that you're engaging with, And I won't go too much into that, but it is occurring, and it occurs at different levels, different people, and affects them in varying ways, depending on what kind of activities and belief systems that they are engaging in their life, and even up to this point. So, and the other thing that I'm quite cautious about is that I'm aware that a lot of this technology and this philosophy, these concepts, are similar to what was being used by the Black Sun Nazis. This technology is not new. It's been around for at least, within this current time frame, at least since World War II, when there was a whole lot of negotiations that happened with particular governments, particular powers that were, and extraterrestrial beings. I'm not going to go too much into that. I don't want to go too far down that route. But literally, this technology has been introduced to us in our human life from sources outside the planet. That's going to sound really crazy. And to be honest, I'm at the point where I don't really care. You're welcome to have a different belief system on that. And that's all I can say. I'm not here to convince you to change your mind about something, your belief system. I'm just saying this technology has come from not necessarily from an earthly place, and there's a huge variety of all sorts of extraterrestrial and interdimensional and all sorts of beings that are around us all the time and outside the earth in whatever ways you can even fathom, and even beyond that. And not all of them have our highest alignment. They have their own agenda, their own purpose, and I think if I get into that, we're kind of heading away from the main topic. So the main reason me talking about this transhumanism topic is just to sort of remind us to continually keep working with our thoughts and with our emotions. And so when things arise, we have the opportunity to ask what is being presented to us through the, be a thought or an emotion. Is this AI? And commanding that the truth, be presented to itself, present itself to you, because you get to then discern, well, this thought that I'm having, is it an artificial intelligence? Is it a technology that's coming in and interfering with my being? Or is it more of something of an organic matter? And you then getting to discern. There's a lot that can be learned with that. So, of course, if it is an artificial intelligence thought form that's coming through, you're probably going to be less likely to want to engage with that, to attach to that. I mean, most philosophies sort of talk about you shouldn't attach to thoughts anyway, but there's a more of an intelligence that you get to embody. Your own DNA gets activated in certain ways. You get to grow in particular ways when you start learning about, is it an artificial intelligence thought, or is it more of an organic matter? And then you get to decide how you want to work with that. Because if you're getting bombarded with artificial intelligence thought forms, then you may want to engage in particular practices that are like, I am not welcoming those kind of things within my space. You are not allowed to use me as a source for whatever agenda that you've got going on. So, yeah, and commanding that the truth be revealed to itself, commanding that you remain within your own organic space, those can be really powerful tools. And, I talk about thoughts and I talk about emotions, but I'm also aware that we now can see itself presenting in the way of what do we actually visually see. So not just like a kind of clear, a clear sentience or something. I'm talking about like an actual, what is it, the everyday person, what can they actually physically see? Because they can obviously create imagery now, which is almost very lifelike, whether you are physically in the presence of it or you're watching something through the screen. And again, also in regards to audio. So I'm not talking about just, clear audio. I'm talking about what is the everyday person, what were they going to hear? And whether that be you are literally in the physical presence of it, or it's being presented through you know, maybe a screen, a radio, a stereo, all of that kind of thing. Because I mean, it's to the point now where they could collect all these sorts of imagery, right, and sounds that you make. Like every time that I present information on an online platform, you know, especially like YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, all of these sort of things, they can collect all this data if they wanted about me, and then literally create a video that looks like me, that sounds like me, but it's not something I have actually done in my own organic form, you know. And that's where it's got to the point now. And with that, you could create all sorts of stories about people. You could make up all sorts of things about people. So I'm aware that every time I present myself in these platforms, you know, there's always a risk in that it could be used against me to defame me or whatever it is. I don't use that as a way to, you know, I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing at this moment in time. I still feel a pull towards continually to share and to show up. And, you know, I don't know the people that this kind of content reaches, and that's okay for me in this moment in time. So, yeah, I mean, it's transhumanism. It could be a little scary to some. For some, you know, they love it. They think it's the way forward for the human. And for me, I see it as an opportunity to get finer tuned in regards to discernment and commanding our sovereignty. I see it just as another level, it's just another degree, another PhD of human school. You know, what do we get to play with here? We get to choose where we want to be going, what kind of timelines do we want to be sitting on, and all of that kind of jazz. So yeah, this is, like I said, a very big topic. You are welcome to leave any comments, any questions down below. I am trusting that this vlog will not be removed from a platform like YouTube, because I'm realizing that some of the things that I've shared here go quite far out of the okayed and agreed upon narrative in regards to these platforms. So yeah, anyway, you're welcome to also reach out to me on any of my various social media platforms. The links for those, the handles for those are in the description box down below, and I will see you in the next vlog.